go, man.
Here we go again, dude. It's the
Yes.
last podcast of 2021. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast, and we are episode 542 or 543 rather, coming to you on New Year's Eve. You're taking the day off. We are not. We are coming to you and kept our streak alive amidst some obstacles, but we are here. You're still in what, Beloit? You're going to make it halfway back to Chattanooga today, and I'm in
Yeah.
Chattanooga, accompanied by our co-host Hayden, who is in the other room watching the Grinch again, eating Cheez-Its, but minding his own business and staying quiet. That's all really we can really ask for right now.
Yeah. And I am, I'm getting ready to hit the road here in a little bit. We'll be heading back to Chattanooga. Who
We
knows
we
where I
we
will stay?
welcome you. Yeah, I was gonna say we will welcome you with open arms. We have missed you. I'm ready to get back and do these live and in color. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. So we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We cover swim, bike, run specific podcasts. We do race recaps. We do race previews. We'll have on a guest about once a year. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through personally and in training and in life, what our athletes are going through in the same life and in training. We work with a very wide range of athletes across the globe, from beginner level athletes to elite level athletes and everybody in between. So we'll take the dialogue and kind of conversation we have in Training Peaks, email and text with them, and use that to kind of catapult the discussion of the day sometimes. We'll also go to our Facebook group, which is Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be a part of that awesome conversation, just answer one simple question. We will let you right in. And a lot of awesome people in there, always good topics. And it's a very quote unquote safe place to ask any kind of question, not get total sarcasm and feedback like you do in most Facebook groups, I think. So be part of the conversation there, especially as the year is rocking and rolling here. But that's it. We're not professionals by any means. We are most certainly not experts. We're just experienced. We've been doing this for a very long time. I've been coaching for 15 years. Mike's been participating in triathlons for what, 9 years, 8, 9 years now, and coaching. So we have we've been around the
Come on,
block.
give me the 10, man.
I know
Hey,
it's typical. Well, if we're doing triathlon math, we'll round it up to 20. Mike has 20 years experience. Yeah, no, we've been around for a while. We've done it all. We've seen it all, and we've experienced it all. The good times, the bad times, the hard stuff, the easy stuff. Made our share of mistakes, figured things out, and that's it. Like, we most certainly don't have all the answers, but and that's kind of why we started the podcast, to kind of just have a dialogue about trying to just figure things out. It's about figuring out triathlon, which is incredibly complex, as we all know. It's not just swim, bike, and run. It's nutrition, it's training, it's racing, it's different environments, it's how we fit it into our life, and it's a lot like trying to figure out life, which is always, kind of its own obstacle in of itself. So that's all we try to do, is just kind of sit back and have that discussion, and hopefully you can take something from it, consume it, and apply it to your own life. Not as like in a copy and paste way, but just make it your own. And that's what we try to do. And anything we can do to help you have a happy and healthy endurance sports journey, that's what we're here for. And we call
that's
that a
what we're
win.
here for.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
And I will say one more thing before you get rolling. As we're closing in on the new year, and you're probably going to listen to this in 2022 if you don't listen to it live today, I would encourage you, if you are waiting to sign up for the club, go ahead and sign up for that. We do have a few more spots. Get in there. It's on the website, C26triathlon.com. As always, it's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. I believe all our camps are sold out for next year, as they tend to sell out pretty quickly. But we do have some availability for the club membership, the Club Plus plan, and the Club Hub. If you do sign up for those, give Mike a few days. We've both been on a little bit of a quote unquote vacay and time off. So if you get signed up for that, I know you're chomping at the bit because it's New Year, but give us a day or two to get things back and rolling and get you all set up. We will get you set up, but it's time. It's time to have a plan, work the plan, and be the plan, and get ready for a new year. And that's what the club is for. That's why we started it, was to kind of take the pressure and the stress off you around, when do I train? When do I not train? What do I do? What do I not do? When do I build phase, base phase, peak phase? If I've got different races, intermix, how do I plan for that? What happens? And that's what we do. We take the stress off your plate I wouldn't say we add it to ours, but we do. We pretty much do. We have very big plates, and we'll eat the green beans and the broccoli while you have the dessert. It's basically how it should look. But be a part of that. And if you have any questions about Mike or for Mark about any of that, crushingiron@gmail.com is where you can find him.
Well, I had two things, but that was one of them. So
Boom. I got you,
just to
man.
start with, well, you got me covered.
Got
But I
you.
do want to say that, yeah, the club. I think what I've been kind of looking at it, engaging it, and I don't want to get too huge. We've had a really nice group come in, and I feel like it's a good idea to give people a shot for the first week or so of January because that's when it happens, right? That's when people flip
Mm-hmm.
the. That's when Basomi comes into your
Oh
mind.
God, here we go. Knew you couldn't help yourself, but here we are.
Basomi, my new acronym.
Oh
That
man.
best shape of my life.
Whatever, dude. I trust you.
Basomal or whatever. I had it wrong. Anyway, so yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday about whether or not they want to be an active athlete or a club athlete with me, and I think the club is a really good thing if you want. You can buy a plan off the internet, or you can kind of get in the club and let me kind of see where you're at and kind of plan everything out based on the shape you're in, what you want to go, and when your races are, and that way if you got a few races, I'll just lead you into all of them in the right way, plus kind of guide you through to your A race. And then we've got all kinds of other stuff like Facebook groups, and you get in the hub and get to see all our videos, and who knows what else comes along with it, you know.
I mean, you get
But
recorded Zoom calls. I mean, that alone is the
yeah,
is
resort.
worth
Yeah,
the
you do all
price
your
of
Zoom
it's
calls,
worth
and
the price of admission. Yeah, you don't get to be on live, but we do put those in, and after we record them, we put them in the online hub for you to consume at a leisurely rate.
yeah, and I'm thinking about doing something like that. I don't know if I'm going to do Zoom call. I'm not a big fan of Zoom, as you might imagine, in my older age. But
I'm shocked.
one thing,
Color me shocked, as people
yeah, we're
say.
not like you mentioned earlier. We're not professionals, but I did used to be a media professional, and God love you, Mom. Be watching a little bit too much news around this
Oh boy,
house.
yeah.
And I would implore, well, not implore, but I would just make a suggestion because I was in that business for a long time that let's break a habit. If you're out there just flipping on the news every morning to start your day, let's start something else.
Oh,
Let's go
dude,
with something else.
it must be a mom thing because that's my mom too. And we definitely won't spend the last podcast of 2021 talking about the news.
Well, I think it's good because
She,
you break
but
habits in the
she
best way
does the same
possible.
thing. She calls it just background noise, and
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I'm like, what do you mean background noise? And she'll leave it on when she leaves the house for the dog, like my dog, like her dog wants to listen to news.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
like, put it on Pandora with
You're
some
trying to
tunes. Like,
impress your dog.
yeah, I'm like that's like me saying I want to, I'll leave the house or I want to hang around the house and do some cleaning or do some work, but I want some background noise of, murder, mystery, depression, and anxiety. That really sounds like something that I can, that sounds like something I can get behind. No, that's an absolutely horrific idea. So yeah, detach yourself from the news, take it off your phone, take it off your whatever it is. But yeah, detach and listen, like I told you before we went live, it's always a good idea, and this is especially a good time of year to close your circle and try to be positive about all things in life, but just honestly get back going. And I was reminded of the while we have obviously stressed the importance of taking time off in December, which is encouraged, right? It's important to take time off. It's important to let your body recharge and your mind, because it's hard. It's nearly impossible for athletes to stay sustainable in being so committed and so motivated for long periods of time without risking burnout and then having to walk away or taking huge time. So it's there, right? And it's encouraged. We encourage it, but at the same time, I was texting with an athlete yesterday as I was watching Tennessee lose a heartbreaker to Purdue.
Oh,
Is how much, and we listen, we talk a lot about races and the enormity of them and planning for them and how we should kind of structure our year around planning for your big race of the year and just races in general. But I think something that I think we all need to be reminded of, and this is for every year, right, is that the benefit and the positives that training in the stability, right, in the structure that training gives us in life, what it allows us to do, what it provides for us, extends well beyond racing. it extends well beyond just your A race of the year. And I think oftentimes we find, I mean, you kind of work with two different kinds of athletes. You have athletes who basically, or well, that's not true, and everybody in the middle, but you kind of, find yourself, I've got athletes who basically, we mentioned this a little bit in the last podcast about you. You have to have a race pretty much close to be on game.
Mhm.
I've got other athletes who basically would prefer not to race ever, but just like the structure and the stability that training provides. And I think that is something that we oftentimes overlook. And because I was having this conversation with an athlete, the quote that she was kind of writing was, I need to get back. I have kind of gone a little bit overboard in the off season. I feel like I've kind of lost myself. I need the structure and the stability back and what that brings to my life. And, whether it's a purpose, whether it's a distraction, whether it's just having, because listen, I think everyone thrives on routine, right? Everyone, there's all kinds of statistics and science about, you generally do better when you have a schedule or a routine or something you kind of do that's set. It makes you more comfortable. It kind of keeps you on task. And for so many people, that's what training does. And it's not just a fitness boost, but for most people, it's a mental and emotional boost. And what it does for their life, it helps keep them focused. And I think that, especially as we kind of, merge our way into 2022, and whether you have a race that's close or a race that's in the far, far distance, is that don't accelerate your training or decelerate your commitment to training because of a race. And always remember that at the core of it, you got into the sport more than likely to figure something else out, to grow, to be a better person, to be healthy, right? To gain fitness, or to prove to yourself or to somebody else or whatever that you could do it. Those aren't race related. Those are routine commitment related kind of, reasons to do something. But at the end of the day, when we, and this is always true of myself, I think it's all mostly true of you from what I've always observed with you, and basically every other athlete we work with, is like when athletes are consistent, they are happier, they're healthier, they are more motivated, and everything else in life seems to click, click, click. So when you're looking at races, or to not do races, or what if a race gets canceled, always kind of take a minute to pause and remind yourself why you want to do this and the reasons you're actually doing it, and what the benefits will be to continue to do it regardless of what happens with the race or not a race.
Remind yourself why. Yeah, I like that, man. And that's always been a. I think those are the hardest things sometimes when you look at it and things are incrementally getting better. If this is very small, little things that you notice when you get up maybe and you don't run to the coffee pot or something like instantly, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel like you've got a little more juice in you. But I think the important thing is the being able to recognize that or remind yourself. And how do you do that? Maybe it's sort of like that morning journaling stuff or whatever, that you kind of can crystallize the fact that you are moving the right direction, for lack of a better word, because sometimes I think we take it for granted, and you're kind of like, man, nothing's happening, but it really is. If you're able to kind of look at your graph over the last 2 months or something like that. I just think sometimes gains in the sport, gains in life, whatever they are sort of small and incremental, and we get caught in the moment sometimes, and we don't recognize where we've come from. And like you said, remember our why, or remember why we got into this,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to recognize that. Those types of things to me have been a huge challenge. And I could be going really right down the right path, but for whatever reason, you might have a bad day, or you might have a bad workout. You might be like, man, none of this is working, or whatever, and you kind of get in that mindset. And I just think it really is crucial to sort of maybe document or help yourself remember. That's why I always encourage people to comment in Training Peaks, even if it's just for yourself mainly,
Mm-hmm.
because those are sort of things that and reflect a little bit and look back and think about things, and I don't know, document your journey with photos or things like that, so you can kind of look and go, wow, I did look uh, healthier back then, or I And just to kind of, because I think it's so easy to get caught in a malaise, especially around Christmas sometimes. And I have noticed that, went through the um, grind of eating everything on the table for about 4 days, up here or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And since all that stuff is gone, kind of, you just notice little things like, wow, I don't feel quite as shitty this morning. It's like,
Exactly right.
like those kind of things are huge little signals or signs, I guess, that you're going the right direction. And then I love what you said about that, the thrive on a routine, how we thrive on a routine, because I think you're absolutely right.
100%, dude.
And every
Yeah.
time, like if you go have how many times you've seen athletes, they have a really rough weekend where they go out and they got a wedding and the parties and the whole thing, and the next thing they feel
Mm-hmm.
like they lost all of it, and and then it takes a few more days to kind of sort of quote unquote get back in the routine.
Yep.
And the routines are just like, it's so unexciting, but it really can be exciting if it's something like, laying out your clothes in the morning or at night, or like little things like that just make
Yes.
such a difference. And it's all about conserving. It's all about energy, man. Our I was getting ready to go this morning, and I sort of packed some things last night. Got my car packed, and what a difference little things like that make to give you energy. And this sport takes so much energy that we have to kind of clear the plate, you know, and save as much as possible to work this sport. I think sometimes. I think that's the organization of your life, basically.
Yeah, but I think you really touched on something that I think we oftentimes lose sight of is it's what we're doing and how we are cultivating and using the energy that we have, right? Because in my opinion, it also takes energy. Like I always we would kind of joke about like staying committed to, sobriety, and we touch on that a lot over the podcast. Is like, you know, it took a lot of dedication to
Oh man.
drink as much as I did every
Oh,
single day for years and years and years, right? It took a lot, and that was energy, right? Yes, it was an addiction and other things, but it also takes energy to not drink here and there. But the more you don't, like for me, the more I have not, drank, it's been, 8+ years now, the easier it becomes. And I think how, because like you said, like you eat a plate of food, you eat too much, you don't exercise, you wake up, what do you feel? Not good. That's still, that to me, that's negative energy, right? It's still an output. You might not be doing anything, but to me your body is probably working in overdrive to just feel normal, right? To clear all the crap out of your body that you've been consuming. And then it's like, why are you being so sedentary? Because like being sedentary and just sitting is is awful. Like it's just sitting, so many people just sit for hours and hours and hours and hours a day, and it kills you. And that takes energy, right? But then you also have this positive energy with it, which is working out, right? Training provides structure, provides routine. Like, and I've never had an athlete be like, you know what, I'm really in the zone right now with training. I'm consistent. I'm happy and healthy, and it's really affecting the rest of my life in a horrible way. I'm
uh,
fatigued. I feel terrible. Like, no, it's always like, I'm. They see the brighter side of things. They're more positive. But then when athletes don't, they're more negative. Like it's about the energy we're trying to complement. It's about the energy that we're trying to, again, like expand and get more of, right? Because there's always energy, and it's either positive energy or negative. And going back to what we said a minute ago about closing in your circle, it takes just as much, if not more, energy to be negative than it does to be positive. Right? It takes an enormous amount of energy to, and a quote we use all the time is, and I use with my athletes frequently is, don't live in a problem that doesn't exist. Because the amount of energy people put into worry and angst and assumptions and going down this gigantic rabbit hole that hasn't even opened yet and might not ever open is tremendous versus not even going down it, right? It takes so much energy to be negative than it is to be positive. Be like, oh, well, you're just naive. Like, no, I'm not. I just choose to be positive, and I'll deal with the repercussions of trying to be positive and happy as they come along, right? And so the same thing goes with, it does take energy to not be in a routine, because to me being lazy takes energy. Like, oh, I'm just being lazy, I don't like do anything. Well, it also means you're making conscious decisions to not do anything, and that energy is negative. And so when you look at kind of the cascading effect that is positive or negative, whether it's training or not training. Go towards the positivity in the training. And that's like one of the things where there's also this misconception with that I think society kind of brings on and that we kind of, exacerbate is it doesn't have to be spectacular, right? It could be 30 minutes, a 30-minute walk every day. But once you start, right, to create momentum, one way or the other, there's positive momentum, there's negative momentum. It's just about 30-minute run, a 30-minute run, a 30-minute run. And guess what? Once you've done three, guess what? The fourth one got easier. Once you go through 5 through 25, guess what? 26 is even easier than the one you did at number 4. Why? Because you're creating momentum. You're integrating it into your life. You're seeing all the positive reasons. And like, oh, well, you can make the argument, is it the chicken before the egg? What came first? Happiness and then training, or training and then happiness, or movement is medicine, or medicine and movement. Listen, it's I've seen it. I've experienced it personally. I mean, when I am in my at my best, I think in life, I am in a great groove in training. I am. It also allows me to be, I think, a better coach. Right? It's just when you're in it, and you're not like in it in an overwhelmed, obsessive way. It's just integrated into your life and you're seeing the positive benefits from it. So when you wake up the next day and you've got to run on your schedule, guess what? You want to go run because you know you're going to feel awesome afterwards. And how do you know that? You have the last 3 weeks to fall back on and think, "Ah, I'm feeling fitter. My aerobic pace is improving. I'm happier. I'm enjoying the structure. I'm not lazy. I'm not grumpy. All the more reason to get out and go. And yes, you need days off, but it takes energy both ways. And I think oftentimes we just don't even have that conversation about how much energy it takes to not do something or to be negative versus just to do something and to choose to also be positive.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that with this time of year, I mean, at least what I feel is when I eat a lot and overeat, I guess, and that the hardest part of training usually feels like it's, you feel heavy or you feel like you're not yourself, and then you kind of try to get out the door and whatever, and it just becomes this weird thing. And the energy it takes to digest food and like things that are not, your body, like you said, your body's trying to heal itself all the time. I'm really, if you start thinking about life as sort of a biological experiment or something like that, what kind of things are you going to do and put in your body or do with your body to create better, synapses and more energy flowing through your body? I think that's a really interesting way to think about it. Sort of like self-care. How are you going to, how do you get, I guess, motivated or into the groove of self-care and doing whatever the next thing might be? How is that going to enhance the feeling that you have in your body and your mind and all these kind of things? And I think you're right about, whatever that means. That could mean, I mean, literally, uh, the shape that I've been in lately has not been. It's been weird because like I tried to run a few days this week and it was feeling really heavy, and just kind of sloggy, and now like only 3 days later, I just feel a little bit different. I feel lighter already, and it's such a lot of times it is an immediate effect, but like there is some of these delayed effects I feel like that you get in life by just because how you talk about how you feel today could be how you treated yourself 3 days ago, kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So
Yep.
that's where I always find the toughest part of training and just life in general sometimes, because it's like you might wake up tomorrow and be like, man, I feel like shit, and then you realize you ate like shit 2 or 2 days ago,
Yep.
and it's starting to come out and like it's trying to get out of your system still or whatever it may be. So I think that it does take sort of a consistent pattern and routine to kind of, I don't know, even that out or sort of balance things out and then get you in a groove where you're not fluxing so far either way.
Find things that are complementary, right? Like it doesn't have to be, and I think that's something that, again, like I think society has kind of pushed on us and we've just kind of adopted in general is we look for one thing, right? A one thing is the quick fix, right? To buy something or to sign up for something or to most of the time, again, let's purchase something, or just I need to look for one thing, right? This one thing is going to get me started. Well, that one thing, you just put all your eggs in one basket. That's also going to be the one thing that's going to ruin the thing. It's more about finding small complementary pieces in your life that will allow you to be successful. Whether it's meal prepping on Sunday, or structuring your week and getting your lane reservations 2 weeks ahead of time, or making sure you're rotating your run shoes, or making sure you've got coverage for to do your long ride on Saturday a week and a half before, or watching what you eat throughout the week, and maybe only having drinks a few nights a week versus every night a week, or try not to eat right before bed, or have some dessert right before bed, or set your alarm, at a different time. Like, look for things that are complementary, that only kind of ask you to do the version of like our 20-minute run, right? It's like, well, why do I got to do 20? Well, if you can't do 20, how do you expect to do 40 or 60, right? You got to take the small steps in order to take the big leaps and the big bounds and the big jumps. So find the small things that can lead, because really all it does is what you're doing is you're clearing a path to be successful, right? Because so much of our life is cluttered with junk and chaos and obstacles that, guess what? We consciously allow to be there. We have friends, we have quote unquote friends, or acquaintances, or coworkers that we allow to integrate our life and to affect us in a negative way, and to suck time and valuable energy out of our life. You choose, to be, active or inactive, or moderately active on social media. Is that impacting your life in a positive or negative way? Is making the food choices you're making impacting you in a positive or negative way? Are you engaging in discussions that are positive or negative, right? Is it gossip? Is it like, there's so many things that we just choose to allow to do, and it sucks the energy right out of us. And then we wonder why we don't have the energy to do the things we love. It is all about focusing on energy and how we're using it in the small ways, and that's what allows us to have the time and energy to do things that we really want to do, that provide us the biggest, the biggest benefit, which is structure, routine, growth. Like, all these things are the things we should focus on, but it's not the one hit wonder, right? We had a podcast where we kind of used small ball, right? We talked about, I think, the Kansas City Royals back when they went to the World Series. We talked about swinging for the fences or playing small ball. Well, everybody pretty much only wants to go and swing for the fences. They would
Mhm.
rather strike out in fabulous fashion, and risk, just striking out over and over again, to trying to get that one home run, then maybe just bunting, right? Going for a single, or honestly, just trying to make contact, right?
Yeah.
Just try to make contact. That's been something, like, as Hayden and I have been basically like quarantined at the hub all week, and we've been playing baseball and soccer and catching football and doing all kinds of things. We haven't, like, as a parent, and also as a coach, you try to be very positive and not talk about the result, but try to talk about, like, contact. I'm like, dude, he's like, he was playing, we were playing baseball, and he hit it, he made contact, but it wasn't quote unquote good. He's like, oh, that was a bad one. I was like, that wasn't bad. I was like, you made contact. I was like, in contact is, if you can make contact, you can be in the game, right? And you're making progress, because as a 5-year-old, like, he's already making progress. But it's about contact. It's not about perfection. It's just about getting out the door. And I think sometimes we try to go for the home run, when honestly, really, we should just try to be getting to the plate.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, of course, it brought up something to me that's always been kind of a grinder in my head, is that um, that's all analytics. That stuff you're talking about in baseball, and they talk about how it they have all these statisticians and analytical people have gotten into the game that have never played baseball, for one, and they're all coming from like Harvard or whatever. Now they're running the damn whole organization, and they're telling you it's better to strike out than put the ball in play with the guy on first, because you don't want to hit in a double play. And that has just always burned me so hard, because it's just because you got to make things happen, right? And when you strike out, nothing happens. It's just no play. They don't have to do anything. And reason I bring that up is because I feel like the analytical part of triathlon kind of gets in people's heads too. And instead of what we were talking about last time is really knowing your body and knowing what you got to do and making, making the move to, uh, create that momentum. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's not about, like, I feel like striking out is just like sitting down, literally, So let's get out of all the numbers and I can hear people just steaming right now, because of all that stuff. But I just, it's a human experience, and we got to go feel it. And to sit around and look at your numbers and like harp on, if you're hitting the right power number, or if your heart rate's just a little bit too high on a run or whatever, just go run, man. And do the, just, you should be able to feel that, right? If you got a zone 2 run, and I mean, you tell me, do you go out and just obsess on your watch the whole time, or you just kind of realize that you're sort of in a pocket, in a zone, what feels like it's not pushing you over the edge, and you're just doing it. You're making contact with that day, and you're making contact with that workout. And to me, that's just like getting all, you know, drunk on the numbers can just take the fun out of it. And it takes the effectiveness out of things a lot of times, I think, because you're just shooting for this sort of pie in the sky thing.
Well, if you're listen, if you're drunk on numbers, then you're only going to do it if you can get drunk. I mean,
Yeah.
coming from experience, I mean, it's like, it's just it is. It's one of those things where, you and the most successful athletes that I work with, again, not the ones that have been to Kona multiple times, not the ones, it's about the ones that get the most and have gotten the most out of their time training than others. Is they do a session and they move on. That's it. Every session is just that. It's a session. It's not a start and a finish. It's not a pass or fail. It just is what it is. Like, I used to be that person, right? I used to be way back in the day when I started training. Everything I did was compare, 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 compare. Now, I've been in the sport for a long period of time, I'll go out for a run, and as soon as I'm done with it, I'll hit save, and then I'll guess what my pace was for the day, and I'm usually fairly close. And then I'll just kind of look at it and be like, okay, moving on. And that's it. And I literally don't think about it again. And like there might be like 5 or 6 workouts over the course of a year that I think, man, those really really stood out to me. Outside of that, I give no thought. Right? I don't go back 2 or 3 weeks and compare routes. Oh, that was fast. Because listen, the I love what you said about analytics, because like we've been watching. Hey, I've been watching a bunch of football lately, and it's like they're all talking about analytics. Well, the analytics say go for it and go for it and go for it, and I heard them talking about, like, this is an NFL game where Jim Harbaugh, I think, or whatever, one of the Harbaugh, the coach of the Ravens, went for it. He lost 2 games in a row for going for two, and like, oh, the analytics say that, and one of the announcers was just like, yeah, but sometimes you just got to go with your gut and read the game and read the crowd and read, the last few plays, of what you've been doing, and how you've been controlling the ball. And it was like, because my gut was saying, what are you doing? Go to overtime. You've
Yeah,
got the
that was the
momentum.
Packer game, I
You
think.
got yeah. You've got home
I
field.
was
Like,
watching, the first thing I said is, you got to kick this.
you got to kick this. Like, what are you doing? Right. And yes, the analytics might say, well, you had a great chance of doing it. But it's like, why? Right? You've got the momentum. You're there at that point. Their defense was like, what you had sent Rodgers off the field a couple times, and it was like, everything is going in your favor. Why take the risk? Right? Oh, analytics. It's like we're totally losing our mind on analytics. And I mentioned this in I think the Zoom call I did right before we went on break was, there was a podcast I was listening to about Christian Blumenfeld. And it was the sports scientist at Norway, which is one of the most world renowned sports scientists, and been super successful. And they are very data scientific based, because they've got the resources, right, to have a sports scientist basically with their athlete. And they when he was going out for runs, he's got all kinds of metrics and data points. But what he said he said, because every piece of equipment needs calibration, because because it's a piece of equipment, right? And so there is air. And so he said, when they might test blood lactate or doing something, what they also do when they take these metrics and take and look at this data in the middle of a run or before a ride or after a ride or whatever it is, they'll look at it and they'll think, all right, you need to slow down, or you need to, or we can push it today, or we need to rein it in. But what they always do is they ask, how are you feeling?
Mm.
And if the athlete says they feel great and the data says we need to slow it down, guess what they do? They go with the athlete. How are you feeling? Because if you know your body that well, you're going
So
with your
you got
gut.
to know though.
You got exactly right. And he did say too, I think pretty interesting. He said if we let Christian always do his own thing, he's always going to eventually, if you let him do it every day, his zone twos are going to eventually going to be his zone threes because he's wired to go faster. And on the flip side, you got Gustav, who was kind of his training partner and the same sports scientist. He said for Gustav, if you let him kind of have his own reins for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, he veers towards the sides of being too careful, right? Of kind of
Mm.
going lower, and of course this is like the tip top of the tip top of the iceberg and the icing on the cake that's trying to figure things out. I would say that it hasn't, it's done both of them obviously a whole lot of success, but it's still, and I think we know things in our gut that oftentimes we ignore, and I always kind of go with well, I do. I always go with my gut. But how you get that feeling is by consuming and paying attention to everything, not just one thing or not just, certain things. It's everything. And then you just kind of go with your gut. Does it feel right? And I think we're losing faith in that in ourselves because we now have so much data and so much stuff that's at our disposal. We think it's mandatory. And yes, is data important and data something that we really want to use? Yes, it is important. You and I both look at data all the time. We look at data, we look at numbers, but we take it within context of what the athlete is feeling. It tells us part of the story. It doesn't tell us the whole thing.
Hmm. And it kind of helps you compare and see where things are going. And I, you know, I think about Lionel. I saw a thing with Lionel, and I know we talk about Lionel in a lot of different ways on here. And I was watching one of these swim videos, and he was all he thought about was getting feel. Remember, I don't know if you ever saw that or not, but this new coach he had or whatever, they were just training, and he was all about just swimming every day. Wasn't thinking about anything except feeling the water better and better and better. And I feel like he's gotten to be a better swimmer lately. Has he? I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff, but
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's gotten a
yeah.
lot.
But I remember seeing that video. It was probably about 8 months ago or something like that, or a year ago or something, and that's all they were taught. The whole video is about like I just get in the water every day and I just swim and I try to get a better catch and a better feel for the water. And I just thought that was so interesting because then you become, thinking about, knowing your body and knowing and how it's flowing or whatever. But you're talking about these other guys, and that is so I it's such a trap sometimes, I feel like, because these are, when I was growing up and you thought about, the Russians and the Olympics and the East Germans and stuff and how technical that was. And it was it's almost this transhumanism thing, right? Where they're just so exact with all these things, but that's all they do all day, every day. They're measured, whether it's their diet or their sleep times or their heart rate in bed and waking, all these things. But like, who can do that, man? And then at what point, I mean, like, I'm sure some people are really into that kind of stuff to like high levels, and I'm all, if that's your thing, go for it. But most people, like, I don't know, most triathletes at least that I've seen race, they kind of go into the race, like those people you're talking about at the highest level pro triathletes, they could probably almost predict their race time, you know, within several minutes, probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
they've got it down that tight. But like, if most triathletes that I work with, that we've worked with, that are amateurs and age groupers, sometimes they just have a great day and they don't even really know why. Like, they can kind of predict. And I think that knowing your body and definitely knowing the numbers, and I know that we all have people that are kind of, you can ballpark it. Like, I probably could get within a half hour either way, but half hour either way isn't really that precise if you think about it. But to get so caught up into everything like that, that's a whole different level. If you want to do that, I think it's great. It's just really, I mean, that has to be your hobby. You know what I mean? That almost has to be your life in a way, if that's the way you want to approach the sport. And I think it's great if you want to do it. I just don't think most people can handle that. And
Well, I
it's
think you have to get to that point to allow it to actually provide a benefit, right? Like there's, and we talk about this a lot, and I say this with our athletes frequently, is like, yeah, like I know you want to obsess about the data, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until you do X, Y, and Z. It
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter out of the gate, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter out
No,
of the
it's like most of the people just struggle with getting out to a run.
right,
Let alone
exactly, right,
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying is like until
exactly,
you
and
can
doing
consistently do that for long, long, long time,
you gotta do it
right?
consistently. Yeah, you gotta do it consistently.
Then it would matter because then you would have like you know, I guess the statistics or the data to prove the data or
Right. Well,
whatever.
it's like if you if you read like any kind of scientific paper on training, it's not like they say, all right, we took 25 males and 25 females and we put them through one workout and here were our findings.
Yeah.
No, they basically spend weeks and weeks and sometimes months getting all the athletes to a specific baseline, and then they spend 8 to 12 to 16 or 20 weeks doing the actual quote unquote test, right? To get done with their experience. It's not one session, but you have so many athletes who are like, "Ah, how did I do today?" Like, I don't know. You tell me. You ran for 30 minutes, and hopefully it felt okay. If it did, then moving right along, right? It's a, and that's one of the things again where our society, I think, has gotten everybody to the point to where it's a results now, right? Results now, answers now, let me know right now, versus like, and I think this is something that we've become very uncomfortable saying or not. It's like, I don't know yet. Like, I don't have enough information to give you a correct answer. Like, where do you think I'm going to be, and what do you think I can achieve? And that's one of like the most frequent ones we get as coaches. What do you think I can achieve in September? Literally, no clue. And it's not and it's not because we're not experienced, we haven't seen it all. It's we have no idea. Like no one can predict the future. You can't predict outcomes. You can't. All you can predict is your experience and knowing that. Listen, if we just chip away, and you stay healthy, and you stay consistent, we will be in the best shape possible on race day. But we don't know what that shape's going to be. And you know what? That's okay. That we our life has become something of where we have to feel like we can predict everything and have the answers to everything, but oftentimes we just don't. Not until we get there. And that's honestly okay. At the we can close it down here is that when you're waking up, tomorrow or whatever day it is, and it's already 2022, take some, but before you make goals for the year, before you make expectations, or huge things you want to achieve, clear your path, right? You might have this journey that ends in September or October, these dreams that are 4 to 5 years long, but listen, don't make because life is going to throw you obstacles and barriers and speed bumps and roller coaster rides along the way already on its own. Don't invite it to come in every day, right? Because in order to get to your race or whatever your big event is and do it in a way that allows you the highest and best opportunity for success, it's time to clear the roads. It's time to clear, the path. And it's not like clearing the path when it, snows in Chattanooga, where they basically take a broom. It's like taking it like they do in Wisconsin. They get like 6 feet of snow and people are going to school the next day, right? It's like make room, declutter your life, create, more opportunity to be successful before you choose what is going to make you successful, because you can have the most chaotic, the most cluttered, the most stressful, and the most negative life possible. And if you have a goal, it's going to be really, really, really hard to achieve it. But what you should do first is start at the beginning. Start, at the center, which is you. What's going to provide you the best opportunity? And then be unapologetic about what gets you there. about saying no to the things you don't want to do, and like we talked about last podcast, choosing yes to things that are most important to you in life. Don't worry so much about what other people think. Don't worry about what, triathlete Johnny down the street is doing, or what race they signed up, or you don't really want to race, but they did, so you feel like you have to. This is you. This is your journey. This is your year. These are your races. Do you. Stop being so obsessed with what everyone else is doing or when they're doing it or what their times are. It's you. Clear the path, get rid of the noise, get your plate out, and get ready to eat this next year.
Well, I think it's a good place to end it. I am definitely fired up by that little motivational speech you had right there.
Can you,
I'm
just one thing
fired
for
up
you
to
is
aim low. Fired up
aim
to aim
low.
low.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously. Aim low.
I'm just like,
Don't go out and order the filet. Start with some spam maybe if you need to, but at the end of the day you might be able to get, and God forbid, like if you're gonna get something, make sure it's medium rare, even if it's spam or the filet. But as always, another year down the hatch. 2 podcasts a week. We made it. And it ended in a challenging way, but we made it work. We found a way, just like we all will in 2022. It's been a great year. It's been an amazing year. I know you're looking forward to this next year as much as I am. Big things, exciting things yet to come, but start small and start with just the Monday and then create your own momentum, create a positive life. Because ultimately, that's what we really want out of this whole thing anyway, is to be happy and healthy. It can't just be happy and healthy in training. It's got to be happy and healthy in life. So find it, dig in, and as always, if you want more resources to accomplish that, go to our website, C26triathlon.com. It is our one-stop shop. And if we could be any part of helping you create that happy and healthy life in 2022, on and off the course with our community and our club, or even personal custom coaching, reach out. Our community is our strength, and honestly, coaching just kind of complements it. So have at it. I hope you have a safe trip back. I'm ready to see you. Be back in the same house, if you will, house and hub, and podcast live and in color on Monday.
all right, buddy. I look forward to it as well. Thank you and congratulations on another uh, twice a week year. Um, 542 podcasts. Pretty solid. Pretty solid
543.
streak.
No, not over.
543. Oh yeah, this one's not quite over, but
Awesome.
no,
All
yeah.
right.
So all right, hitting the road here soon, and I will see you. I don't know,
See you Monday,
Monday.
Brian. All right. See you,
All right,
dude.
bud. Thanks, man.